So we will start our literary analysis essay for A Day's Wait. Now, if you recall from the last lesson, we came up with some possible central ideas. We have the central idea shows readers how children will seek approval from their parents, even if it puts them in danger. And then this was developed through the use of irony. You could explain it. Shat's attempts to put a brave face on for his father and be, um, even though he believes he is dying, um, we could say the boy does not want to be a bother, so he hides his true worries. And then the irony, this is developed through the use of, or no, we could say the boy's true feelings are revealed in the story's resolution when the reader and the narrator learn Schatz was seeing Schatz thought his temperature was of a deadly degree. There we go. And that you could elaborate a little more, that he thought it was in Celsius. We could say Schatz learned his temperature thought his temperature was of a deadly degree. However, the reading was in Fahrenheit. There we go. I elaborated. So for I would like to do a central idea. I'm going to elaborate it. I'm not going to do the part about the mother. I'm going to leave that out. And I will just say that a parent's role is crucial in their child's development. So now here's my thesis. I worked it from the 5 we brainstormed. The story's central idea shows readers that healthy parent-child relationships are crucial for a child's emotional development. So, this is our intro paragraph. In Ernest Hemingway's short story A Day's Wait, a young boy struggles with what he believes to be his impending death. And you would call this a non-restrictive clause. That's why I put the commas around it, because I could take it out of the sentence and the sentence stands alone makes sense without that clause there. But the clause is important because the boy really wasn't going to die. So this would be our catchy sentence introducing title and author. So in Ernest Hemingway's short story, A Day's Wait, a young boy struggles with what he believes to be his impending death. Okay. And then the story is narrated by a father who struggles. I already used the word struggles. I don't want to use that. Who appears uncomfortable, uncomfortable caring for his sick son. The story is narrated by a father who appears uncomfortable caring for his sick son. Since considering the story was published in 1933, because they told us that in our test, so we can say that. 1933. Considering the story was published in we'll say this. The story is set in the 1930s at a rural home, because obviously it has to be rural because he goes out and goes hunting, so it definitely can't be a city, right? The story is set in the 1930s at a rural home with, and we'll leave it there. Okay, so now we will say we're giving a little bit more of a background. Okay, so in a rural home, a the protagonist's son, Schatz, has a 104-degree fever. So a doctor is called to the home in order to bring medicine. That's basically what the doctor did. Then we can say, the boy afterwards, the boy assures his father that he doesn't have to sit with him. This, and then afterwards, the boy assures his father that he doesn't have to sit with him. So the narrator goes hunting. When he returns, now we're leading into our thesis. When he returns, the father comes, when he returns at the end of the story, the father is made aware of his, what if we say the father is made aware of, is made aware that that he, that his son suffered, that his son was experiencing extreme anxiety over a misinterpretation of his temperature read in Fahrenheit. There we go. So now this seems like a lot, but we really laid out everything a reader needs to know, right? So now here we have thesis. The story's central idea shows readers that healthy parent-child relationships are crucial for a child's emotional development through the use of which literary element do we think can best show this? I am going to do I want to do motif, and then we could talk about nature. Um, so the dad sought comfort in nature when he technically should have been comforting his son, not going out hunting when his kid was sick, or at least until he knew his kid had processed what was going on. Because remember, at the start, he did not look okay. We could also, we will just say conflict here. I'll make it simple because when you're on a test, I would advise you always use either conflict or characterization. Motif can be a trickier one. So we will say through the use of conflict, and I'm going to focus on Schatz's conflict. Actually, we could do father versus son. We have a father, and he's expected to be caring for his sick son. And in the end, he didn't really do a very good job. All right, so we'll say here this story's two main characters include a sick son and a sick son and a father. All right. So we might say with the conflict of the story commences when the narrator father finds his son sick, so he calls a doctor. When the narrating, what if we say when the narrating father, because he is the narrator of the story. Narrating narrating father finds his son sick in bed. So he calls a doctor. We could say the we'll say the fathers will say Schatz can be viewed as the story's antagonist because his illness is causing worry and is causing worry for his father. All right, so now we have this conflict here. Um, Father versus son. Father is tasked with getting his sick child feeling better. We could maybe say here, while the father is quick to call a doctor to have medicine brought to the house, he has poor intuition in intuition when it comes to his son's emotional needs. And then he can say here, Hemingway writes, and I'm going to use a direct quote here. I want to use the one where he tells him to go. We could say, even here, well, no, we'll start at the top because that one was we'll say, Papa, you don't have to stay in here with me, Papa, if it bothers you. No, I mean, you don't have to stay if it's going to bother you. We'll say here, we'll just paraphrase, okay? So, Schatz tells his father that he can leave his bedside. And rather than the father consoling his son, he takes the invitation to go hunting. Now, this wouldn't necessarily, now their conflict is kind of paused between father and son, right? Um, we could say, while so we're going to, Schatz tells his father that he can leave his bedside, and rather than consoling his son, he takes the invitation to go hunting. And then upon returning, the father continues to resolve his conflict by, we could say, distributing by measuring out more. In this part, he had offered to read him. He was offering to read him his book, and he was going to give him some medicine, or he's giving him a water. We'll say, upon returning, continues to resolve his conflict by offering his sick son water and a story. Still, we could say here, it is not until the story's resolution that Schatz relays his true feelings from the day. And then we could say he had been waiting to die all day, ever since 9 in the morning. So I'll put, after revealing his terror, because the kid's terrified, right, that he's going to die. After revealing his terror, Schatz's father barely reflects on his mistake. And then I'm going to put our quote. And that was page, we'll do Hemingway 3, because Hemingway's last name, and then this came up on page 3 of the story. So we could say, after revealing Schatz's father barely reflects on his mistake. We could say, this realization, without any emotional reflection, is so we're saying that a parent-child relationship is crucial for a child's emotional development. So we can say this realization, without any emotional reflection, was the father's epiphany regarding his importance in his son's life. And then we can say the last line that we got to use is the part where the next day Schatz cries over everything, saying, and I'm going to put that in the conclusion of our essay here. So, this realization, without any emotional reflection, was the father's epiphany regarding his importance. We will say, let's say, emotional was the father's epiphany because he realized his son needed him for emotional support that day. And then our ending, we can say, this will say Hemingway's A Day's Wait ends the following day, or wait, we'll say Hemingway's A Day's Wait shows readers the trauma that can be caused when a parent makes a selfish choice. Ooh, and then we could say parent, or we'll say children rely on their parents for comfort, knowledge, and care. When a parent, I want to say, neglects their duties, like the father in this story, a child can suffer long-standing emotional trauma. In, we'll say, the last paragraph of the story shows readers that the following day, Schatz was easily upset over small things, which proves how crucial parent-child relationships are for emotional development in children. And that is a very rough draft. Well, it's not too rough, I must say. I wanted to do this a live writing for you guys so you can see how long this took me and how the process. If you notice, I want to go back. I go back a lot throughout an essay and I'll reread out loud. If you're sitting for a test, you can't really read it out loud, so you'd have to read it in your head. But I'm constantly rereading what I've wrote because you can't write more if you're having like a brain block. You can't just think words will like magically appear if you're not going back and reading what you wrote. Another thing you always want to do. This thesis statement is very important. So as I'm writing my body paragraphs, after this was only one body paragraph, but if you were to write a 3 body paragraph essay, you always want to check back and make sure that your body paragraph is proving your thesis. So see here we have our thesis is saying that Healthy parent-child relationships are crucial for a child's development. So this paragraph goes on to say this horribly traumatic situation that happened to Schatz. And I'm saying here that Schatz and his father do not have the healthiest relationship. We may want to add that though. We could say, this story's two main characters include a sick father and a somewhat selfish father. The conflict of the story commences when the narrating father finds his son sick in bed, so he calls a doctor. Schatz can be viewed as the story's antagonist because his illness is causing worry for his father. While the father is quick to call a doctor to have medicine brought to the house, he has poor intuition when it comes to his son's emotional needs. Schatz tells his father that he can leave his bedside, and rather than consoling his son, we'll say consoling and reassuring his son, he takes the invitation to go hunting. Upon returning, the father continues to resolve his conflict by offering his sick son water and a story. It is not until the story's resolution that Schatz relays his true feelings from the day. After revealing his terror, Schatz's father barely reflects on his mistake. He had been waiting to die all day, ever since 9 o'clock in the morning. This realization, without any emotional reflection, was the father's epiphany because he realized his son needed him for emotional support that day. We could say, his son needed him. Um, his son needed him. We'll just say his son needed him to alleviate his worries that day. Okay, and then our closing, we're summarizing that this story shows readers that the trauma that can be caused when a parent makes a selfish choice. See, now I want to edit this because our thesis is talking about how crucial relationships are. So we could say shows readers the trauma that can be caused when a parent does not seek to build a healthy relationship with his or her child. So I'm also saying this could be a woman. And I edited it a bit because the last one was kind of saying that the dad made a selfish choice, but our essay was talking about healthy relationships, not selfish choices that parents make. You could tweak it and you could say, tweak the thesis to say the story shows readers what can happen when parents make selfish choices rather than sacrificing all their time and energy for their child. It depends on how big of a deal you wanted to make the dad's hunting excursion. So, and this would be an example of a literary analysis essay.